Hey everybody, it's Jason Baja here, and it is time for the Monday Q&As once again. I'm sorry that these are going up a little later than usual. It was due to time constraints, busy weekend, but let's go ahead and knock this out. First question. Will a calorie surplus provide the same amount of recovery regardless of how large it is? I.e., will a 100 calorie surplus provide as much recovery capacity as 500 calorie surplus? Honestly, you're going to get a little better recovery from more food. Now, I'm not saying that means you need to go on 1,000 or 2,000 calorie surplus, that you're going to just recover dramatically faster than on a 500 calorie surplus or something. No. But when you're running very, very small surpluses, or you're so close to maintenance that you're not even really gaining weight, gaining like a half a pound a month or something, like 100 calorie surplus a day, your glycogen replenishment, your total recovery, your energy, even your performance isn't going to be as good as if you boost it a little higher. You start getting up to 10% to 15% calorie surpluses, which for most guys is going to be that 400, 500 calories. It's going to be somewhere in that range. Yeah, you're simply going to get better glycogen replenishment. You're going to have better energy for training. You're going to have more training fuel, more training stamina. So yeah, overall recovery is going to be better. However, again, when the calorie surplus starts going up, body fat can be accumulated slightly faster also. So with everything else, there is a trade-off. It's a matter of finding that right balance for these things for your personal goals. But in all honesty, if you're stalling, you're not making the gains you want to make, you're not recovering fast enough, and you're on a very, very, very tiny calorie surplus, you might really want to seriously consider increasing it just slightly further. Because food is anabolic. All right, next question. In an older video, you mentioned belts and knee wraps in simple terms provide no safety benefit and just add weight to your lifts. If this is true, then why are they included in raw meats? Seems kind of arbitrary to allow belts and wraps but no other equipment. Well, in all honesty, I agree with you there, and not all federations allow that. Not all have the same divisions. There's different divisions of what is classified as raw, and even if you go to Powerlifting Watch, they differentiate between raw and raw with knee wraps. My federation, the BPU, which is also the WPC, also clarifies a difference. When you enter, you don't enter as just straight raw and you get to use knee wraps. You either raw or you enter the division raw with knee wraps. There is a distinction drawn, and yeah, you honestly can't compare the two because you take different types of knee wraps, knee sleeves on different people. One guy might only get 20 pounds on their squat out of it. Another guy will get 100. As crazy as that sounds to a lot of people, it really, that is the more extreme end, but it can happen. But in terms of the belts themselves, I agree. And because they don't really provide a safety benefit, they provide higher neuromuscular efficiency by allowing your abs to contract against something. It's using an external object to increase strength. And so should they be included in raw? I don't know. So that is a philosophical debate, but the general consensus in every single federation seems to be to allow belts in raw. And I'm not really going to argue with that choice, other than to say that if they did start a raw division in my federation without belts, I would compete in it. I don't deadlift with a belt, and I only put on the belt to squat for actual meet prep. I don't wear a belt the rest of the year. And so for me, that would be right up my alley. I would personally compete in that. But the way it's set up, that's just the way it is. And that's what the general consensus is. And I think in part because there is that consensus among a lot of people still that the belts provide a degree of safety, but they really don't. All right, next question is going to be a similar question. So let's get into it. Guidelines on when to knee sleeve, belt, and wrist wrap up. Knee sleeves, interestingly enough, is something I discussed in the past, and other experts have agreed and pointed this out. Knee sleeves offer zero benefits in terms of injury prevention. There's not one shred of evidence that knee sleeves reduce injury rates, that the extra warmth in the knee is going to help any lifter with healthy knees reduce their chances of injuring their knees. There might be therapeutic cases to where the cheaper Walmart type knee sleeves will help someone with a pre-existing medical issue in their knee with keeping it warmer to reduce further injury, but there's not one single shred of evidence that knee sleeves help someone with healthy knees prevent them from getting injured. in particular these more expensive knee sleeves that are out now, and a lot of those provide massive amounts of carryover. And anyone who's ever really worn them who thinks they're only getting 5 pounds on their squat out of these really tight, stiff new knee sleeves that are out today they're lying to themselves, or they're being delusional. They add a lot. So when should you add knee sleeves? Well, if you're prescribed a knee sleeve by your doctor, that's a good time to add it. If you have a pre-existing medical issue, but if you haven't been prescribed one by a doctor, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't recommend. Make sure that your doctor or physical therapist actually thinks that you need one. And if not, then I wouldn't bother. And so when else should you wear them? As soon as you start training to compete in a federation that allows them. Like the IPF, my federation does not allow knee sleeves. They count them as knee wraps for all purposes. They do not draw a distinction between the two. I philosophically agree with that. I see them as essentially the same thing, other than there's no evidence that knee sleeves contribute to injury. So when we go over to knee wraps, the same answer applies. Now, your doctor would never prescribe a knee wrap, hopefully, because knee wraps, there is data showing they can contribute to knee injury. They can cause knee injuries or increase the rate of knee injury of certain types, and we know that they can. So they offer absolutely zero therapeutic benefit or injury prevention benefit. Knee wraps exist only for the purpose of bouncing you out of the bottom with stored energy through the weakest part of your squat and adding more weight to your max squat. That's the only purpose in wearing a knee wrap. You're only increasing your chance of injury with no benefit. It's not going to make you a stronger squatter to wear them. It's going to allow you to cheat and basically get more weight out of the bottom that your muscles don't have to lift for you. That's not going to help you gain muscle or get stronger. It'll help you get stronger through the joint angle specificity, where the knee wraps no longer help you that much. But if somebody really wanted to do that, they could do partials in a rack or something to that effect, or they could even use accommodating resistance to achieve a similar effect with chains or bands. There's no need to subject themselves to a higher risk of injury with the knee wraps. Now, as far as wrist wraps, anytime is good. As soon as you start handling loads on your bench press or your closed grip bench or your incline bench that start getting heavy enough that your wrists hurt a little bit or get slightly inflamed, that's the time to wrist wrap up. They don't help you cheat. They don't help you lift more weight. They're purely a supportive and protective measure. So anytime you feel that you need them, when you start getting a bit of wrist pain from bench pressing, that's the time to consider wrist wraps. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.